What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. I really want to say that I have missed you guys the last few months. I apologize for that. Life got hectic, per usual. But here we go with another hopefully enjoyable video. Today we're going to be talking about 12 ways in which you learn to adult when in the military. But before we get into all that, let's cover the basics. My name is Michael Inman and I'm an airman in the United States Air Force. I upload new videos here on Mondays, so if you like military and Air Force content, definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button below. And also, turn the notification bell to on so you know when I do upload brand new videos. So the first way you're going to learn how to adult in the military is it will be incredibly important for you to start using a calendar. Now, there's a couple things that come to mind, of course. The first idea of a calendar is more of like a running to-do list. So just literally pen and paper or like pen and notebook and just listing things you need to get done and when. The second image that comes to mind when I speak about a calendar will be, of course, the big thing that can go on your desk or on your wall. Think of it like a dry erase board, or the big thing on your desk that has a literal month calendar with different days and different squares, you remember? And of course, writing your commitments in that. Those are both totally fine. I pause because it's not my preference. My preference and my recommendation would be to create a digital calendar. And I know this sounds truly unnecessary for my hyper-productive, overly involved kids in high school. You guys clearly probably use a calendar. But for anyone who does not use a calendar, you will be learning how to do that when you get in the military. Because let's say, for example, you do get a digital calendar on your iPhone and or Android phone, via Gmail, whatever you prefer. Once you get a calendar set up, you're going to be able to add in all of your commitments. And those will include, but this is not an exhaustive list, all of your tech school class dates and times. So when do you need to be where for school? Of course, all of your military commitments, like when is PT? When are you doing a blues inspection? When is there going to be like a flight or squadron PT on top of normal PT? When is your PT test? And another example, when is your dental examination? Your annual. All of these things are going to start being expected of you, and you need to know when they are, because you can't just miss things and not show up. It won't work out for you. It won't. The second way in which you're going to learn how to adult in the military is tied directly to the first item. And that is going to be managing your time appropriately to allow yourself to show up on time to commitments. Because you're now using some form of calendar, clearly you're going to know when the appointments are. Well, as you would expect from the military, because it's a very stereotypical expectation of the military, if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. Something like that, okay? You get what I'm saying. When you get in the military, this is going to be a way in which you grow up a bit, because you too, if you're responsible and don't want to be kicked out, you too will start showing up early to things to make sure you're on time. Because when you're late too often, you get paperwork often. So, my recommendation for you before you even embark on your military career, especially when you're just interfacing with recruiters, just get used to showing up 10 to 15 minutes early. And worst case, you sit in your car for 10 to 15 minutes, I don't know, download Audible, listen to some audiobooks, I don't know, hang out on YouTube, play Candy Crush. I don't care how you use your time, but don't try to show up on time and then be late because of traffic, I don't know, a car wreck, not your car wreck. Clearly you will not be on time if you get in a car wreck. And or anything else that can go wrong. Just clearly anything can go wrong, and your leadership may not care because you should have planned and accounted for, a margin of time that accounts for things going totally wrong. So please show up 10 to 15 minutes early, and that sums up the second way you're going to learn how to adult. Yeah. The third way in which you're going to learn how to adult is how to keep a job. This is really for my friends out there who either often get fired or often resign, and or any other situation that leads them to not keep a job very long consistently. Like you regularly get a job and some way in a month and a half you don't have said job anymore. This is an excellent way the military teaches you how to adult because you signed a contract. So thus it would be really impressive actually if you somehow also lost this job in a month and a half. Now, of course, you could do that by totally screwing up BMT. Please don't do that. The military is great. Please don't shoot yourself in the foot. But assuming you got through BMT, it would be very difficult to just quit. Bye. So thus, the military provides an excellent way for you to learn both job stability, meaning kind of what is it like to keep a job for a prolonged period, but also perseverance. So if you are someone who used to quit often, the military provides you an excellent opportunity to, well, not be able to quit, and thus you have to learn perseverance. Isn't that great? That means if that's something you wanted to learn, but never forced yourself to learn, the military will do it for you. Next, you also will learn how to create and balance a budget. The first reason, or the most obvious reason that this is on this list, is because for many of you guys, especially, joining out of high school, this is going to be the first time you have a job that it feels pretty darn guaranteed. As we just discussed in the prior point, it's not very easy for you to quit, but also, fun fact, it's not very easy for them to get rid of you quickly. So because of that, you are able to forecast your income and your consistent income pretty far out. Most people are able to say, I will receive this much or more, usually, or more as the years go on, every 2 weeks until the end of my contract. Now that's not very normal in the civilian world because you could randomly be let go. But because you, if you join the military, are able to to a high level of confidence say, oh no, from this year to this year over here, I am making this much every month and or more as I get pay raises. So thus, with this new confidence in your consistent income, it is upon you to create a budget because you now have zero excuse. Since you now know how much you're making, you have zero excuse not to create a logical and balanced budget. So first, please identify your expenses. The way I would say doing this is either log with, whether it be on a note in your phone or pen and paper, either log literally everything you buy, even if it's a $2 can of Coke, log everything you buy for a month, or use a debit or credit card for everything an entire month. Because then, of course, via the app, you will have an itemized list of everything purchased. The reason you want to do this is because you want to know where your money is going, and two, if you're spending more than you make. If you are spending more than you make, that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. Once you do that, you are thus able to say, this is how much I pay in rent, this is how much I pay in gas every month, and this is how much I pay for my Netflix subscription. These are my expenses. This is how much I usually spend on average as discretionary income. So, randomly buying McDonald's 4 times a week. Because you itemized your transactions for a month, you now have a big picture view of where your money is going. So, you know what your expenses are every month. You now know where your money is going when you get to choose. So it's not bills, it's literally just you spending it on tickets at the movie theater. And you finally, because you did create a budget and you did this kind of month-long study, you now see if you're spending more than you make. If you are, as we said, please address that and get that in balance. You actually want to have a surplus. And once you do work yourself toward a surplus, meaning you are now making more money than you spend per month, you get to the golden area of establishing saving goals. So the next way you're going to learn how to adult in the military is you're probably going to get your first credit card. And that's to say, if you do not already have a credit card when you enter the military. Now you need to be very careful when going about getting a credit card and managing both the credit card and your credit, because when things go poorly, it's very hard to fix them. As some of my viewers know, hey, keep pushing, you got this. Anywho, so getting your first credit card will allow you to establish a credit score. When you use a credit card responsibly, you will eventually see that you have a good or excellent credit score. With a good or excellent credit score, you are more competitive and you are thus, hopefully, able to get more attractive interest rates on loans when you need to take out a loan one day in the future, whether it be for very, very large purchases and or you some why want another credit card. Your interest rate will be better, we can hope, because you have a good credit score. How does one get a good credit score? Well, one of the more typical ways to do that is to get your first credit card, have it be something accessible or easy to get, like a secured credit card, meaning to start off, since they don't know if they can trust you with any money, by they I mean the banks don't know if you're trustworthy. You literally give them, let's say, $200. So you have a checking account that has $200 or more in it, and you just send $200 to an established bank saying, hey, we offered secured credit cards. Once you give them your $200, they are going to ship you a credit card, a secured credit card, let's say for hypothetically $350. So your credit limit is $350. See how you gave them 200 of that 350? But that's what a secured credit card is. So because you gave them something that they can keep if you never pay back anything that you spend, thus they are going to take a risk on you and give you a credit limit that's higher than what you gave them, but not too risky to them. Because again, you really may run off with all of their coin. So when you get a secured credit card, it is a credit card. So you are able to use proper, credit card management skills, such as never spend over what you literally have in your own checking or saving account. Don't spend money you don't have. That's what that rule is. So never spend money you don't have and pay off that thing in full every month. So if for you, that means I only buy 3 Starbucks drinks every month on my credit card, which totals what? $15 to $25. Then you are being pretty smart, because at the end of the month, you pay that $25 off in full and you never have any rotating balance on your credit card. Just try to avoid that. If you use it in that manner, meaning you use the credit card regularly, you never go above what you personally have in your own bank accounts, and you always pay it off in full, you fall under the category of a very responsible credit card user, and you will eventually have a credit score that says, or that, implies you know what you're doing at least a little bit. So that is going to be one of the ways you learn how to adult when in the military. The next way is you may just get your first car while in. Now, one caveat. Maybe 2. If you came in with the car, okay, cool. This may not apply to you because it's not your first car, and thus you may, we can assume, have at least a little bit of experience on what it's like to go through the car buying experience. But the second thing that I felt it's important to mention is, if your current plan is to go throughout your first military contract with no car, just know it can be a little confusing to the people around you. Now, of course, if you have very, very, very extreme financial constraints, that makes sense. That is very rational. Maybe don't make a large purchase. But on the other hand, the people around you are probably making the same amount of money. And unless you're sending a lot of money home because of, things going on at home, I don't know what kind of expenses you have already just jumped into very early. So if you don't have the weight on your shoulders to be sending a lot of money home, and you haven't, assumed a lot of problematic and or questionable expenses and or financial commitments already early on in your military career, I'm not sure why you wouldn't buy a car. Hey, but maybe you entered the military with a lot of debt. And that would be a reason to consider not getting any kind of wheels. But outside of those, I guess, unique circumstances, to the people around you, if you're just like delaying getting a car for not too much of a very strong reason, it just comes off like, why are you always asking people for rides? Why haven't you like gone out, saved up your money? So maybe there's a money saving issue, because then it starts to reflect on financial management, which we all are on a journey. So we all have progress to be made in that category of life. But some people are making more progress than others, right? Like, I don't like understand sometimes if there's people always asking for rides and it's been over a year and a half and you've gotten settled at a base hypothetically. I'm sorry, what were you doing with your paychecks that you couldn't save a down payment? Some people just, some dealerships don't even require a down payment. But let's say you want to be a little responsible and, save up $2K, $5K, something that feels comfortable to you for a down payment on a car. If you have spent over a year and you don't have any extenuating circumstances like sending money home or coming in with a lot of debt, get a car. What are you doing? I'm sorry, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Clearly this is something I've reflected on before. Like, why are you asking people for rides? Why are you walking on the side of the road around base? Why are you if you like bicycling, then fine, you're good. Especially if you're in a dorm. Bicycle away, it's very healthy. But if you're like bicycling from like far away off base, again, it'd be different if we had very different pay rates. No one knew how much anyone else made, that kind of thing. But this is me just giving a speech to someone who this is their current plan, like to put off getting a car for a while because they can just carpool all the time. Eventually, you're not going to be able to get a ride. Your commander is going to be doing an all-call or those moments when you have to show up to base kind of impromptly because they need to make sure you're not AWOL. So they just call everyone to base. They're like, hey, everyone be here between this 2-hour period or paperwork. There's going to still be moments where maybe only you need to show up to base or you need to show up to command, and your friends and or peers are not going to be available, and or like, are you going to Uber to the gate? That's fine to an extent. I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent. The point of this, everyone, is I encourage you, when you get settled at your base in which you are officially assigned instead of tech school, when you actually get to the base you're assigned, even if it's an intimidating process, I really encourage you to save up a down payment. Let's just say $5K, just over 6 months, maybe 7. Save up $5K. Again, please manage your expenses and purchase a vehicle so you can be autonomous, not needing to depend on people around you, able to show up to things that are kind of without much notice, when you need to. There's a lot of good reasons to just get a car. Now, of course, alternatives are always encouraged. You could get a motorcycle. That is more seasonal, but hey, do you. And or you really could use a bike, but you need to make sure you're living on base or very close to base. Yeah. Back to the regular scheduled programming. You are probably going to get your first car when in the military. So make sure to do research on car prices both in your city and in local or in other cities to make sure they're not, asking an exorbitant price that's just totally, irrational and unreasonable. Make sure you understand, what your interest rate options are. So compare at a couple different banks or credit unions. Again, save up for a down payment and review the facts and reviews of the car you're interested in before you just walk into a dealership and be like, wow, that's pretty, I want that one. Because for all we know, the people who've bought that car say, hey, it's great for the first 2 months, and then things go wrong. So, and that also plays into another item. Please want more than one car. Because if you have a dream singular car, like this is my dream car, you're really putting yourself in a situation in which there's probably only one dealership that has that car, or at least that has certified new or certified pre-owned, editions of that car. And so you're in a pickle because you want that car so much, and they're able to be like, well, we're not going to discount it, sorry. But if you're like, I have 4 cars that I'd be happy with, then if a certain dealership is playing games, you're able to grab your bag and walk out the glass door. Okay. The 7th way in which you're going to learn how to adult during your time in the military is you're probably going to get your first apartment. So after the first year or 2 or maybe 3 years, you are going to have the option to move off base. So whether that be into a single family unit and or just an apartment, let's say downtown. You probably are going to want to rent an apartment, let's say, for the first year in which you're allowed to live off base, unless you're going to full send and buy something big. Assuming you want to rent an apartment, understand that that process is a little bit more fun because you're going on tours and stuff, and it's not as stressful as some of the other processes we've discussed and or will discuss. But do understand there will be a background check. There will be minimum income requirements, and also please have discussions prior to how utilities are going to be split and other logistical concerns that have to do with money. Because you don't want to become very argumentative with some of your closest friends because people feel as though certain things were not discussed prior to. Meaning if someone gets deployed, are they still required to pay rent to the trio of 3 other people that they lived with when they're deployed? I don't think that is realistic, but you guys need to have these discussions prior to. The next 2, which constitute item 8 and 9, are going to be merged together. And I'm sure you're very excited about what these 2 are and doing them. But if you don't already know, because your parents are really handling it for you. Actually, we're just going to say, like, this is 8, 9, and a bonus. So 8, 9, and 9.5. You will need to learn how to cook, clean, and do your laundry. That is the 0.5, because I did not originally plan to say that. But now that we're talking about adult skills that you probably are going to learn when you're in the military, especially, like I said, if you're coming out of high school, yeah, that's a thing, especially when you move into an apartment. So you're officially off base. Do not let your apartment become shambles. I'm laughing because some of y'all are going to do this because it's your default state, and I don't know, maybe who am I to judge? To be honest, who am I to judge? You do you. As long as your roommates are on the same page of what the state of the kitchen should be, whatever. Anywho, I would say you are going to need to learn how to clean for yourself, how to cook for yourself, and not blow your entire check on Uber Eats every day. Don't do that. And finally, of course, how to manage doing laundry at regular intervals. And those are your items 8 and 9 and 9.5. We are getting close to the end, folks. I know you are so sad about it, but let's bring this home with items 10, 11, and 12. The 10th way in which you're going to learn how to adult during your time in the military, hopefully, not that you should do this item 10, but, well, if you have to do item 10 and you didn't learn how to do it properly, that can't be any good. It just can't be a good thing. Well, item 10 is buying your first house. So, during your time in the military, you may choose at some point to buy a house. And this may be just you, it may be you and a spouse, it may be you and your clique, your crew, your posse, regardless of the individuals kind of joining together for this large transaction and large business moment. It definitely represents adulting to the nth degree. If you're buying a house, I like to think you're an adult. So, when going about the purchasing of a house, please ask questions to your supervisor, to their supervisor, to other people in your office or offices, because there are other people around you who have gone about buying a house locally. They have recommendations for real estate agents you might want to work with. And also, they can provide insight into the VA loan process, which, let me tell you guys, is nuanced. That was a process. That was fun. I had fun. Anywho, so definitely lean on your airmen or fellow military members around you, regardless of branch that you choose to join, and ask questions so you don't go into it blind. But yes, purchasing your first house is definitely one of the ways you may be learning to adult during your time in the military. Item 11 is that you are going to need to learn how to do your taxes. Now, it's not like you're an accountant, so you are not doing your taxes. But as an adult with a real job, you are going to need to be mindful of when the tax deadline is in getting your taxes turned in, okay? Luckily for you, lots of Air Force bases, I don't know about the other branches, but I assume other branches offer similar services, but most Air Force branches will provide complimentary tax services if you set up an appointment with them in time and your tax requirements are not overly complicated. Like if you are doing some big transactions or some weird things, I think the on-base tax assistants, tax advisors, they're going to say, you need to find someone that you can pay for this service because this is a lot. This is a lot going on. We cannot help you. Please leave. So, other than those situations, usually, at least at Air Force bases, there are complimentary tax services. So just make sure to sign up for an appointment way before April 15th, please. That's a standard deadline for taxes. So to think you're going to get an appointment anytime in a week leading up to April 15th would be poor time management, meaning you did not remind yourself using your calendar to set up that appointment. Our final item for ways in which you will learn how to adult when in the military will be how to vote while away from home. Meaning, how can you be politically active in whatever way you see fit, because I don't have time to get into that right now. But since you most likely, your home of record or official home will be the place you went to MEPS from, so wherever you lived in the before times, before you joined the military, that will probably be your home of record. So thus, you will be voting from a different state, a different country, wherever you are based. You will be voting, but voting for the local elections of your home of record, unless you change your home of record to where you are based and where you live currently. So, when you are in the military, you will have multiple people in your chain of command who can provide feedback and advice and instruction on how to properly vote while away from home. Specifically, there's something called the Federal Voting Assistance Program, in which you will be enrolled in, and it will literally allow you to vote while away. So if you're based in Wisconsin, but you're from Idaho, you will literally get to go to the federal website for FVAP, the Federal Voting Assistance Program, print out some form. Of course, you're gonna need to tell them what state is your actual state of record. Fill out the form, fill out who you're voting for, mail it off, and you will have done your American duty and participated in the political process, even whilst away. Isn't that great? Look at that. I'm proud of you. And that sums up 12 ways in which you will have to learn how to adult while in the military. Because a lot of life is going to happen during your time in the military. Like I said, especially for those coming straight out of high school, you're going to have a lot of experiences during your first contract. But again, everyone around you will be either thinking about doing similar things or will have already done it. Meaning buying a house, getting a credit card, figuring out what the local area offers. Your fellow military members are your biggest resource, and I want you to lean on them when you do pursue any of these items. So, thank you so much for watching today. Make sure to subscribe, comment, and like. You can also find me on Instagram or Twitter at Michael A. Inman _. Thank you guys for getting to the end of the video. I have missed you. If you want to give some kind of cute update on where you are in the MEPS or DEP program, let me know in the comment section below. I definitely will respond. And yeah, I will see you guys hopefully next week. Have a great day and toodaloo.